And I'll just say a few things before we kind of go into the actual discussion here. And just, so this is a quick chat, and we're gonna do things. It'll be 20-25 minutes. I'll monitor the time, and people can put questions in the chat box throughout, and I'll monitor the chat box, and I'll look also at the end. And this is being recorded, and so just be aware of that. And with that, let's get started here. Hello and welcome to Quick Chat. I'm Brian Walsh. Today we're going to focus on the Department of Energy SBIR opportunities with special attention on how applicants can prepare for competitive proposals. Joining us is Eileen Chant, Outreach Program Manager for the DOE SBIR. Welcome, Eileen.
Ready to go?
Eileen, I think, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, hi, everybody. I'm welcome to this quick chat, and I'm really happy to talk to you about the SBIR STTR program at the Department of Energy. I'm going to share my screen and go.
And be sure to give us a brief introduction about you and your role.
Yeah, I am the Outreach Manager for the Department of Energy SBIR STTR Program Office. Again, as the outreach manager, one of my most important jobs is to elevate awareness of the program so that all of the entrepreneurs that are out there that are a good fit with our program are fully aware of this opportunity for non-dilutive funding for your research and development. So that is my main role, is outreach. We're always interested in applications from underrepresented groups, which include women-owned small businesses, minority-owned small businesses, as well as underrepresented regions around the state. And I will mention that Wisconsin is one of the, while you may not be underrepresented in all SBIR programs within the Department of Energy, Wisconsin is underrepresented in terms of the number of awards they receive.
And are we, in a previous conversation, you brought that up, and so is Wisconsin also underrepresented in the number of applications, or more so in the number of awards, or both?
It is more so in the number of awards. There's a sort of, I would say, a low to moderate amount of applications submitted, but the award rate is relatively low for Wisconsin. And I mean, that just says that there's a fair amount of interest in the state in obtaining the Department of Energy and competing for these SBIR STTR grants. But there must be potentially there's some mechanism that could help strengthen the application, such as application assistance programs. We have an application assistance program. I'll present it briefly. And also there are state support organizations as well that you could maybe Brian can speak to as well too. If you're looking for help, you have a good idea, it's a good fit with the Department of Energy, I would encourage people to try to find application assistance programs to help them strengthen their application.
Great. So you prepared, looks like 8 slides to hit on some high points. And as you go through them, I'm going to ask some questions along the way. I think most of them are, my questions are kind of concentrated on the last 3 slides, but I might surprise you, and I'll look for some questions in the chat box as we go as well. So go ahead and go for it.
Yeah, and I'm going to go quickly through the slide. I think we're mostly interested in Q&A. I just want to make the audience aware there are 11 agencies that offer SBIR, and there are 5 agencies that offer SBIR and STTR programs. But this is a significant pot of money. It is in excess of $3.5 billion a year that's set aside for small businesses to conduct research and development. And the research and development topics should be aligned with the agency's mission as well. The DOE is the 3rd largest program. We fund early stage, high risk ideas that are too much in the early stage for the private sector to get involved. So that is kind of our sweet spot, is when these concepts are in the idea stage. You must be a small business, i.e. less than 500 employees, and you must be owned, the ownership must reside with an individual who is a citizen or a permanent resident of the US. Just a quick thing, a quick slide on our timeline. We do provide grants, non-dilutive grants. The money is yours to execute the program that you have specified in your application, and the program is designed by your business. That's the difference between a grant and a contract. There's no deliverable. You're not delivering a widget or something to us at the end of the project. It is yours to execute your idea. But we do have very specific topics, and you have to be responsive to what the Department of Energy is looking for in your application. That's one of the main important things about your application. We did release our topics in July. If you're interested, you should have already, if not, gone to the topics document to look for something that aligns with your technology. The FOA came out earlier this month. Letters of intent are due on August 30th, which is just 6 days from now. They are 500-word abstract telling the DOE what it is that you propose to do. You can also communicate with program managers during this time by email, and those email addresses are in the topics document. I'm not going to go over all of this, but I did mention that the funded topics are aligned with our DOE mission. But did you know the wide variety of topics that we release? We are not just a clean energy agency, although that is a very important part of our mission. And if you see here in the leftmost column, a sampling of the topics that we fund in the clean energy area, which people are probably familiar with. They're like, of course, the DOE funds fuel cell research and solar power, et cetera. But did you know that we provide leadership in basic energy and engineering sciences as well? And so in that vein, we have topics around new detectors, new instrumentation, making computers faster and computationally better, quantum information, atmospheric modeling, and advanced topics on that are needed for accelerator technology. And finally, the third portion of the DOE mission is enhancement of nuclear security. So we do issue topics around nuclear nonproliferation and also cleanup of the nation's weapons waste sites around the country. So a wide variety of somewhat narrow topics, if that makes sense. So as far as our funding, phase one is the entry point into our program. It is a $200,000 to $250,000 award, which would be executed during 6 to 12 months. That duration is up to you. And it is a proof of concept study. Phase two is where you start to move into prototyping, technology demonstration, and the beginning of your commercialization plan. Now, I won't go into the multiple phase two awards, but this timeline shows that it is possible to receive funding for up to 7 or 8 years before you sort of have to get out there and be out there in the marketplace selling your product.
Does Eileen, does Wisconsin have are there low award rates for both phase one and phase two for our state?
So I can't speak to the specifics about phase two, but a phase two is a follow-on grant, and approximately 40% of phase one awardees go on to receive a phase two award. So the answer is yes, just because you have to have a phase one in order to receive a phase two award.
Okay, yeah, and I'm interested to learn more about the 2A, 2B, 2C, but it's out of the scope of this conversation. Maybe a question later or a future session.
Sure, absolutely. I'd be happy to talk about that more. And we do have a specific webinar on phase 2A, 2B, and 2C that comes out. And it's only for eligible awardees. So you have to be a phase one awardee to really receive, if that makes sense, to receive an invitation to the webinar. So I did want to mention July 12th, our topics came out. And then in a few days, 6 days from now, a 500-word abstract called a letter of intent is due on our PAMS system. And it just takes a few minutes to register in PAMS if you're not registered already, but you do have to submit your letter of intent on that system. and then the full application is due October 12th. There are 4 offices that issue topics during this particular release 1, and a lot of these offices are more around the basic engineering science and energy science area. So this is going to be typically more around detectors, instrumentation, maybe some kind of mirror that an accelerator could use, and also advanced scientific computing topics. These are more basic kind of science, but not 100%. You should go look and see if these topics will provide you with any match with respect to the R&D that you're conducting. Release 2 is 9 offices do a release 2, release topics during release 2. And this is a mixture of much more applied topics, like the Office of Electricity and Renewable Energy and Carbon Management and Fossil Energy. They're going to be releasing topics about looking for better solar photovoltaics, better windows. There's cybersecurity, which is better software to enhance cybersecurity. But there are also fundamental type topics in the fusion energy science and high energy physics area as well too.
Eileen, I definitely have some questions on this slide. Okay. So why do you go the 2 different releases? What's the reason for that approach? And is it always the same programs or offices in release 1 and always the same in release 2?
So it is always the same offices. And there's a couple of reasons for the way it's structured. One is and not every SBIR or STTR agency does things differently, and that's really important to know, because if you're not a good fit with the DOE, you should go look at the other agencies. But beware that they have different structures and rules. So what we do is the offices will only have 1 release a year. Now, these are offices that are conducting basic R&D and fulfilling the DOE's mission, separate from the SBIR program. So this is really partially so that they carve out a block of time every year to reviewing the SBIR proposals. So just really to be schedule oriented and understand when this kind of big bunch of proposals is coming in to review, because we do get about 1,600 proposals a year. And the other thing is that we do want this to be a competitive program. We want the best proposals to be funded. So we want really to see all the proposals at once, because we review the proposals and then we rank them. And there's always more good proposals than there is funding. We have a very specific pot of money. And so we rank them, and then the top rated applications get funded. That's the philosophy, is we want to fund the best proposals.
Are the funding rates similar between release 1 and release 2? Are there any differences?
So the congressional mandate is that each of these offices will have to commit to 3.2% of their extramural R&D to the SBIR program, and 0.45% of their extramural R&D to STTR. So each agency has a different amount of money, and some of our offices are very small. The Office of Environmental Management, I believe, is smaller. The Office of EERE is very large. I mean, Congress kind of determines how much each of these agencies will get based on what their mission is and how much they need to get things done, I guess. But it's a percentage of their research and their extramural research and development.
Okay, and I noticed in the release 1, the topics are very, very specific, but there's also sort of this other category. What, with grant applicants in other areas fall within the scope of the topic description. Practically speaking, what does that mean for applicants? How broad is that other category, or can it be? So
the other category, you must be, so with a subtopic, you must be responsive to the topic and the subtopic. But when there's an other category, then you must really be responsive to the topic. You focus on that. For example, topic number 20 is a topic on better materials for nuclear energy. Okay, and then they have a very specific topic about corrosion, better corrosion resistant materials in a very specific environment. But then they have another topic. So as long as you can explain your material technology advance and how it's good, how it will enhance the performance or safety associated with nuclear energy, then you're being responsive to the topic. So they're broader, but you still must pay attention to what they say in the topic as well and be responsive to that.
Is the way people search for topics in release 1 any different than the way they should be searching for them in release 2?
No, you should go through the topics document pretty thoroughly. You should look at the table of contents. That gives you a lot of information, but you should always also do multiple keyword searches, because you'd be surprised. You might find out there's a fit for you in an area which maybe the table of contents doesn't find. Because your technology you might be using your technology potentially in a different way to be responsive to the subtopic. So I would say read the table of contents and do a fairly exhaustive keyword search for the topics document. Look, in both releases, I would recommend the same strategy.
Okay, and so before we go on to the last 2 slides, we talked about ways to make proposals more competitive. And so let's talk about tips that you might have for doing that. Do you, have some best practices, maybe for starters, that you've seen from strong proposals?
So some of the fundamental important things about the proposal review process is the scientific approach, the merit of the approach. So you want to make sure it's a feasibility plan. So make sure you come up with a really good work plan and that you have the expertise to carry it out. And if you don't, you can round up your team with a subcontractor. You can reach out to a national lab or a research institute if you need some testing done or additional expertise. So a good team, a good scientific approach, and then the potential impact of your technology on the field. You want to be able to, in your application, make the case that you will make your technology, if it's successful, because this is a proof of concept study. We don't expect everything to succeed. That's the nature of R&D. But if it's successful, that it would have an impact on the field. So I would also say they're being responsive to the subtopic is very important. You can reach out to the technical topic managers that are listed in the topic document to make sure you fully understand what they're looking for. And then another very important thing is to read the funding opportunity announcement document. It's not the most fun document to read. It's 80 pages, but I've read it a few times. But make sure you understand the application process, because you don't want to make a mistake, like a required form, or you could go, you could, with your budgeting, you could make errors. So please make sure you understand the application process. If you're submitting a letter of intent, please note there's a whole bunch of Q&A webinars that you'll be invited to where you can ask questions about the application process. After the letter of intent is submitted, we'll have 6 Q&A, 1 hour long Q&A webinars every week, and we invite the letter of intent submitters to jump on the call and ask questions. We have resources available. We have application resources as well too.
And there's specific timing for approaching the topic managers, right?
The whole time that the solicitation is open. So for release 1, from July 12th to October 12th. Some agencies have more specificity about that. It's an example of how things are different. You can email the topic manager at any time. We just ask that you make it very specific, your questions to understanding the topic. Don't try to sell your technology to them. That's what the application is for. But reach out to them questions that will help you understand how to frame your proposal with respect to the topic.
And do you have any specific pitfalls about applications, things that you kind of maybe worst practices, things that you would try to steer people away from?
Well, be aware of the state of art of the technology in your field. Make sure that what you're proposing is new and is not something that's out there already. There are some small administrative issues that people can have, which unfortunately there's a small percentage of applications that are declined because people make mistakes, like asking for more money than what's allocated. You also, you can't switch subtopics from LOI to your application. There's a bunch of small little pitfalls, which if you join our Q&A webinars, we will go over all that information during our Q&A webinars. Yeah, those are some of the things that come to mind. There's more, but again, they'll join our Q&A webinars and you'll find out. We discuss that a lot, the pitfalls.
I do see a question in the chat box before we go to the next slide. So how mature does my small business have to be? Do I need to have legal papers filed, or is it sufficient to say that I have intent to be a small business?
The latter is true. We don't necessarily recommend that because there's certain things about having your business set up that will be helpful to you at the time of the award. But no, what you need is to have an idea and be an expert in your field. And if you get an award, have the intent to establish your small business. That is not required. And that's not part of the review process. So the reviewers will not judge you for not having a small business established.
Okay, and I see one more here. So when DOE ranks the proposals, are all topic areas on a level playing field, or are some topic areas given a higher priority during the selection process?
Well, there would be, for one thing, each program office does it with their own pot of money. So, the Office of Nuclear Physics is going to rank their proposals, and the portfolio manager is going to look at all the scoring. But it is true that if something is higher priority for them as far as their mission, it might get bumped up a little bit in the ranking. The portfolio managers and the program managers do have discretion if they feel that a technology is important to change the rankings a bit, although it doesn't happen very often.
Okay, I see one more question, but I'll come back to that in the chat box. Let's go on to your last two slides.
Okay. Okay, I did want to speak to application assistance to this group. We have what's called the Phase 0 program. It is free to you. You do receive a one-on-one coach to help you through the application process. It's first come, first serve. It's open now. People start the program after they submit their LOI. And like I said, it's first come, first serve. We did have a good response this time. So if you're thinking about it, I would get on the website today and apply. Again, you receive coaching assistance for your application, which is great.
So it's not really it's not like a course. It's sort of appointment based, section by section. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, you have a coach. So they will review your letter of intent. It's a little probably late in the game for that. But if you were to join now, you'd start next week they would help you with your project narrative. They help you with market studies, understanding the market, because you do have to have a very small section that's a commercialization plan for your application. Phase 1 is not as concerned with your commercialization plan as the Phase 2 proposal, but they will help you with that. So market research, your project narrative, there's a few other types of services that they will help you with. And it isn't reviewing webinars or tutorials. You are working directly with someone who is an expert in our application process and who is kind of like in the technology field, a generalist, but in the technology field, they do try to create a match with the technology as well too.
Do you have a sense of how many how nationally or Wisconsin, how many participate in that Phase 0 program, and how much of a difference it makes, the success rate for those in Phase 0 versus those who don't take it?
That's a really hard question, and we do look at all of that data and all that information. But the enrollees in the Phase 0 program tend to be much smaller and early stage companies, and so it's sort of hard to compare them with the experienced company that's bigger and has already won awards. I would just it will keep you on track. It will keep you scheduled. It will keep you from making mistakes. But in general, the idea that's coming from you and your business is important. That part of it you will own.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and then if you didn't join the Phase Zero program, we do have this learning center, and that is watching videos on different parts of the application process, the application checklist, what type of registrations, because there are 5 online registrations, unfortunately, that do take weeks. Some of them take weeks to set up, not the PAM system where the LOI is submitted. So you can go look at these videos for different parts of the application process. If you're interested in collaborating with a national lab, here's a resource for you with research areas and contacts. You could reach out as well to those contacts and see if there's any opportunity to collaborate.
So is it for that particular that kind of outreach, is it typical that companies will proactively reach out to see what those collaborators, those national labs are looking for, and then maybe build a project around it? Or is it the reverse, or is it a little bit of both?
No, we encourage you to reach out, the small businesses to reach out to the national labs. If it's not necessary, it's not. I think I think about 50% of our awardees team with a research institution. One of those research institutions could be a national lab, but so it's not required. But if it's going to enhance your research project in some way, then you should explore that collaboration. And it is the small business should be reaching out to the lab. Yeah. So don't just add it because it looks good. Add it if it adds structure and meaning to your work plan. And we do, you can email us anytime. We are responsive. We do answer all emails, and most of them we answer within 24 hours, unless it's a more complicated question. And of course, if you join our mailing list or follow us on Twitter, you will see all of the going-ons, the webinars, when topics are released, when the FOA is released. So you should join our mailing list, and all that information will show up in your inbox. And I did want to just point out that we have many support programs. We're not just a granting organization. We have a lot of webinars to help our applicants get through the application process. We have the Phase Zero program. I've spoken about all of these application assistance programs. We also have we're starting a program on partnering assistance. It's very much in the early stages, but if you would like to reach out to the woman who is launching that program, we can put her address in the chat box. And then we also offer a number of awardee resources that are focused around customer discovery and marketing and commercialization plans as well, and enabling contacts with investors.
Yeah, I think it would be great to put that partnering information in the chat box.
Yeah, I will. So can I go ahead and do that right now, or?
No, we sure, go ahead.
But I don't see the. Okay, wait, I'm getting.
Oh, if you don't have.
Okay, I'm going to do it right now. Okay, I'm typing in Carol's address. She is our new lab to market person. Should I get that correct? Okay, there you go. She's our new lab to market person, and she could she would be happy to speak to you as she's going to be launching more formal resources for partnering. But if you have questions, feel free to reach out to her.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and finish up your slides, and then I see a couple more questions. What's that?
I think I had, this is my, that was my last slide.
Perfect. All right. So a couple more questions I see in the chat box, and one is, can I apply to 2 agencies with roughly the same program of work? What happens if both are awarded?
So yes, you can do that. During your application submission process, you do have to reveal that you have done that. Because we do really require that information. And if they're both awarded, you can't take both pots of money for doing the same exact project. So you will have to decide which award you would take, which is a good position to be in. And also, if the scope is a little bit different, there could be a negotiation between the two agencies, like you would receive some part of the DOE award and some part of the other agency award. So there is a negotiation process after the award is made, and that would be part of it.
Okay, and I think the other question I see there is related, and you just answered it as well. Are there any other questions from the audience?
I want to mention one thing about the duplicate proposal. We do not allow the duplicate proposal to be submitted twice to the DOE. Like if you put a duplicate proposal into topic 20A and then 30B, we do not allow the duplicate proposal to be submitted twice within a particular solicitation for the DOE.
Okay, any other questions from the audience? Give you a couple seconds here.
And I want to mention the resource SBIR.gov, which is a website that is, and I'll go ahead and type that into. Simple, but it is a website that's hosted by the Small Business Administration. They have the role of providing oversight for all the SBIR, STTR programs. So they have a nice list of all the agencies, when their solicitations come out, and then links to those relevant web pages. So we're not in competition with other agencies. We encourage you to look for opportunities for funding across the board.
Great. So maybe you mentioned we have some deadlines looming, so maybe just remind everybody about those. There's a letter of intent, and then the full submission deadline. What are those dates again?
Yeah, so August 30th. I think I'm sorry, that must be Monday, right? Yes, it is. It's Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Your 500-word abstract is required to be submitted. And if you go to our website, you will and you go to our applicant resources page, you will there's instructions about submitting the letter of intent. So definitely read those instructions. The full applications are due October 12th. You should start with your DUNS, SAMs, and then your grants.gov system registrations as well, because it takes about 4 weeks to get that all done. You need to get started on that now. And then November 8th, release 2 topics come out. Go to the topics document, download it. It will be on our funding opportunities page on that day, and start looking to see if there's a fit for you. If you're this particular release 1 that's out now is not a good fit.
Okay, great. And I see one more question. Can you speak a little bit about unsolicited proposals?
Well, I mean, really all of our proposals are in response to our funding opportunity announcements. Anybody who would like to go through the application process can submit an application. That's kind of how we're structured. So, if you're not responsive to the topic, the proposal won't go very far. I guess I don't really know how to answer that question. You do have to work in the framework of our funding opportunity announcement. Now, there are other opportunities for funding within DOE for SBIR, STTR. So make sure you're aware that the program managers can fund research that they like that's outside of SBIR, STTR. And you can talk to the topic managers about that. You can say, I'm working in this area. There was not a good topic for me. Do you want to hear a little bit about what I'm doing? And the other thing is you can suggest a future topic as well, too. So if there's not a good match, there's different ways to go about it. And, we have an agency, ARPA-E, within the Department of Energy that does have an SBIR, STTR program that we do not manage. They manage it on their own. And so you should be looking at the ARPA-E site too, and they like to fund very disruptive, they want more like really high impact disruptive technology. I think that's generally what they're interested in funding.
Okay, great. All right. So to wrap things up, is there anything else you want to let people know about navigating the program?
Just that we really strive to be accessible to interested applicants. So just make sure you make use of the resources that we're providing and email us with questions. And I'll go ahead and type my email, so you can feel free to email me as well.
Well, while you're doing that, so I'd like to say thanks, Eileen, for helping us become more familiar with the DOE SBIR program and giving us insider advice on how Wisconsin companies might better take advantage of the funding. And before I say goodbye, I want to remind our audience that CTC is a Wisconsin state-funded resource to help you navigate a path to commercialization. We offer one-on-one counseling on accessing federal commercialization grants, microgrants to aid in the proposal writing process, pre-submission proposal reviews, and lean startup programming to help you get your innovative ideas to the market. Please don't hesitate to schedule a free counseling session with us. And thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you on the next CTC Quit Chat.
Thank you everybody for attending.